So we're here with Philip Smith from Haymarket, Head of Content Solutions. Now, you've just been part of this packed seminar. Give us a taster for people who haven't managed to catch you. What were you talking about and what were you telling people about?
In the seminar, we were talking really about what I guess we call martini media, which is that whole challenge of getting the right message out to the right audience at the right time through the right channel, you know, anytime, any place, anywhere. So it was really about making sure that your marketing is coherent across loads of different touch points and channels and platforms.
And how on earth do you do that? Because it's a bit of a headache for people who aren't aware exactly how to go about it.
Well, one of our panelists, John Moja from Juniper, said very clearly it's about strategy. And I think any communications expert would say it's about planning ahead, thinking ahead, not reacting in the moment, though you need to have the ability to react quickly, but it is about making sure your message is coherent across all those channels and having the right strategy to get to your audience.
So we know this was a packed seminar, lots of questions for you. What were the main things that people were struggling with or needed your advice on?
I think in terms of the advice that the panel were giving, I think they were very much quizzed about how it really was coming together for them and their brands and their clients. So I think it was very much putting them on the spot and saying, how do you make all this theory work in the real world? It's one thing to say strategy, it's another thing to make it happen, particularly in this sort of digital, near real-time environment. So there's a lot of pressure there. I think the other question, and one that came through very clearly, is what's the role for different channels? So for instance, and you'd expect it at a show like this, what's the role for print? And where does print hold its own in terms of the modern day marketing mix? And I think that the answer from the panel very clearly was it has a role, and that role is evolving, but it plays to its strengths.
Something we heard about yesterday from one of the seminars was about fads and how we can pick out the fads to look to and how to use those. Do you have any advice on that?
I think, again, it is where your audience is. And actually, the message that very clearly came through from the panel was very much about making sure you put your customer first. And if the customer is enjoying some of those fads and is working up, for instance, if you've got customers on Twitter, what can you do with them? Can you have meaningful engagement with them? And is that engagement that is valued by them? If it is, then Twitter doesn't become a fad for them. It is something that's important. And I think that's the question. Get the customer right, and then you can decide whether something is a novelty or a fad or a nice to have, rather than an essential part of your marketing mix.
The customer is so important. And were you able to give any top tips for people to take away from this seminar?
Personally, no, I'm not the expert, but the experts on the panel were very clear about that. It was get the customer right and make sure that you are very focused. I think the other thing is be nimble. Be really nimble. React to that feedback from customers, react to advice, and make sure that you are responding in time. One of the things that customers and consumers now get very frustrated about is not having a response or feeling that their query is being dealt with.
Brilliant, thank you so much. I gather that another panellist, Derek from Sony, is with us. If we can just bring you in now, it would be great to hear from you a little bit about what you were talking about today. For people who have missed the seminar, unfortunately, need some top tips to take away. Can you give us a hint?
Yeah, I mean, the key thing for me is understanding customer needs and then working out how you meet those needs. In the multi-channel world, it's very difficult to find out where you start and that sort of thing. So the important thing is to find out what matters to your customer. Once you've done that, you can find out the best way to deliver it. And for us, we've worked on several things which have exceeded customer expectations after we've done it, and we've only done that by sort of really getting to know the customer really well.
How can you tell the difference between a fad and something that's going to stay, something that's going to hang around?
Yeah, good question. I think the important thing is to keep an eye on the trends and sort of see whether it's growing, and then maybe to some extent you need to use a certain amount of gut feel as to whether it's going to carry on. A trend is mobile, the growth of mobile in terms of the internet and that kind of thing. I see that growing. I don't see that sort of going anywhere else. So that is something that should be focused on.
Many people are sort of confused about how best to build those customer relations, but you're saying it's an easy thing to do, it's an easy thing to manage.
Yeah, talk to them. If you don't talk to them, you won't know. And actually, it's very easy as a brand in a marketing department because marketing's basically built on telling people that you want them to know. But obviously, because people are so connected these days, they can find out what really works for them better. So it's only by understanding them that you can make sure the fit is absolutely perfect. Otherwise, you can really miss the mark.
And from Sony's perspective, what exactly are you doing that's different?
We've improved our proposition in terms of how we look after customers, in terms of servicing some of our products. We had a very good service operation as it was, but there was some areas where people wanted something a little bit different. They wanted to go in stores and get laptop service straight away. So we provided that. And the great thing is that we've seen the response in terms of how people really like that through the customer satisfaction surveys. So that to me is what gives you the buzz. That's when you see you really hit the mark and it drives that attachment to the brand.
How important has it been for a brand like Sony to come along to cross media today?
I think it's always interesting to see what's happening. What's interesting to me is whenever a brand talks about this kind of thing, they talk about being on a journey, and that's what it is. It's all new, and it evolves over time. So the important thing is to stay in touch with what's going on, see what's happening out there, and see how it can be used or adapted for your brand.
Absolutely packed seminar, so there's a lot of people wanting to learn from you, which is great.
Yeah, it was good, and I think there was good questions from the audience as well. And actually, the important thing to understand is that it's not about everything that's happening that's new. Somebody asked a question about print media. For some people's customers, that may be absolutely ideal, but the point is you need to understand them, and how is it ideal? How do you access them in the most effective way with that kind of medium?
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Derek, for talking to us. So do come along, lots more seminars to go so you can catch some nice top tips to take home and apply directly to your own business. Really worth a visit.